completely customizable, and movement and combat will be very familiar to fans of the original Baldur's Gate Neverwinter Night series. Not much in terms of the story, at least not that I've seen. Lots of little side quests and fun places to explore, but the story overall is kind of thin. It doesn't. They don't spend a lot of time on it. You're going to spend a lot more time dungeon diving than you are actually checking out and keeping the story updated. And a good part of that, um, it has a couple. There are a couple of nasty flaws that I really don't like about this one. Um, the first, of course, being some of the problems that they have with the maps. They were actually common to the game. They were actually common to the type, or at least reasonably common to the type. Here is your.
I've begun a search of this floor, sir. I'll guard the stairwell.
Here is your. Here is our lesson in sneakiness and backstabbiness. All right.
I can do that.
Okay, space chart you pause and unpause, and of course it does pause. It does adore its pauses. It does adore its pauses while it's doing uh it does adore its pauses when it thinks it's doing well, or you're in range of something that could actually be a could hurt somebody in your party, blah 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 blah. You might, if you like a good action, if you like enough action, then you might want to consider turning the pauses off,
Right away.
or at least the bulk of them.
Call this a challenge?
And it's not like they don't die fairly well.
An interesting battle.
Lady, you got issues, I'm telling you.
At once.
You left click on people to, and you can also hide the little tutorial thingies there.
Glad you could make it, sleepyhead. It's about time you joined us.
Ran into some old friends.
All I know is that they're
All right.
They're going to bring the whole
So,
building down around us.
as RPGs goes, I'm gonna say this is probably gonna be about middle of the road. If you like your Dungeons and Dragons and your and the planet of Faerun, then you're probably going to enjoy this. In terms of lore and story and all the other sorts of fun things that go with that, then they do actually steep it pretty well. If you're wanting a little more creativity in your role playing games, um, turbo rabbits and shit like that, you're just not going to find it here. Um, in terms of the game, it's got a couple of really huge bugs that I do not like. The first of them being, of course, that if the dungeon in question is bigger than your screen, then you're going to have a real hard time getting moved around so that you can actually get to places, and it makes ambushes very easy when you're out towards the top of the screen. There doesn't appear to be kind of a drag mode in if you're using a window. In full screen, it's probably going to work a little better, but it doesn't. But this particular game doesn't appear to like a dual monitor setup like I have. So you take your lumps, you do what you got to do, and you may wind up taking a few lumps if you're not exceedingly careful with that. I'm going to classify it as a bug. Some people will say that that is inappropriate operation on my part. I'm not inclined to think so. It's dual monitor setups are, as far as I can tell, fairly common these days, and it's something that really should have been accounted for, especially for a game that's less October of last year, October 2015. So there is absolutely no excuse. I mean, I've had a dual monitor set up now for 5+ years, and this is this is fairly reasonable in terms of what to expect. Um, you have to be able to make some sort of an adjustment for that, and there doesn't appear to be one. Aside from mouse slip and a real stubbornness to move the map around, it could be a lot worse. I've seen games like this that were so far gone that they're almost unplayable. This is very playable if you can keep those things in mind. A return to the world of Faerun in this particular process was actually quite welcome, and I'm not going to begrudge the developers the $20 it took for me to get my hands on this thing, but it really could use a little bit more polish. Um, it's not a digital homicide game, obviously, but it's not great in those terms. Nothing horribly game breaking, however, and there's really nothing too crashy about it. I haven't actually run into any, and it's not really damaging my potato any. So we're gonna call it about even. I'm gonna run this about a score of about 75. If only because that map thing and the monitors are a big problem for me. Uh, it's a fun little romp through Faerun if that's what you like. I happen to like Faerun quite a lot. It's real, but this is just not grabbing me like I really expected it to, like Neverwinter Nights did when it first released. Like the Baldur's Gate games that did when I saw them the first time. This isn't really grabbing me, and it could be any one of a number of things. Um, but you are not. But just anyway, moving on. Um, Not a bad game. It's well set up for what it is. It's not what I call great. 75 out of 100, and yeah, it's fun. It'll burn through some time if you wanted to do that. If you're really obsessed with finishing the primary campaign and then the little expansion port that goes with it, you could probably sink a lot of hours into this. Uh, Not as many as I have with a few other games, though. So, with that, I will bid you adieu, and let's make games fun again.